Moms who know do less so they can focus on what matters most, taking care of themselves, their families, and living their God-given purpose. Moms who know focus on the little things they can do that grow to have a huge impact. You are connecting with your family, your true self, and your God-given purpose. You are a mom who knows. Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and I'm joined today by Becky Squire. Becky, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this call and learning from you about some of your tips on parenting and some of the things that you've done that have worked well in your family. So I wanted to start off, this has just been something that's been on my mind lately. And as I was researching this call, I felt like you would be a good person to ask this question to. So first of all, I want to start with, what do you think that it means? What does it mean to you to be a good mom?
I love this question. And I think it comes down to this. It's important to understand that your child's behavior does not define how good of a mom you are. So if your child behaves well, for example, when my husband and I had our first child, he was, and still is, he's almost 15 now, but the most obedient child. We never had to, child-proof our house. We would just tell him, you don't touch that. And even as like a 6-month-old, 1-year-old, he just would obey. And so my husband and I would tell ourselves all the time, we are such good parents. Like, we are really good at this. And then another child came along and we learned that we are maybe not the best, or at least that's what we thought. And later, much later, years later, I realized that it doesn't matter what your child does or doesn't do, because they have free agency and they have their own personality. And so what makes you a good mom, to kind of finally answer the question, is doing the things that are important to you. For example, loving your child, that makes you a good mom. And they can choose to accept that love or not. That's up to them. I think that teaching your children certain skills and values will make you a good mom. And if they choose to take those into their life and use them, then that's up to them. So basically you choose the things that make you a good mom, and then don't let your child's behavior or their agency define if you are good or not.
Oh, okay. I love that so much. I think that is so needed. And I just, that answer makes me know why you are here. And I felt like I needed to ask you that question. Like, to hear that. Maybe it's me, and I bet a lot of other people too. So
Thank you.
I think that's awesome, because I think we get caught up so often in this idea of all these things that we hear in our mind of why we're not a good mom. And I can really relate to your story. In fact, sometimes I feel, I don't want to say that God tricked me exactly, but that's almost what I feel like. He gave me the easiest baby. Number one, baby was so easy. And I thought, what a piece of cake. Pregnancy was easy. Having a baby was easy. Everything was just easy. And then kids later on, 2 through 5, not as easy as number one. And so I thought, he just wanted me to have more. And like,
right.
Piece of cake. You got this. So, okay, tell us a little bit more about your family. How many kids do you have in total now? How old are they?
So I have 4 kids. My oldest is 14. And then my daughter, she is turning 13 next week. And then I have a son who is 10 and a son who's 8.
Okay, fun. We have very similar ages in our family. And then tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, well, I am a writer. I am a stay-at-home mom, and I have loved writing ever since I was little. And I just decided that I wanted to embrace that more, embrace my love, my passion, and help others, especially women. And so I started my blog 3 years ago. I publish an article on it every single week. And I write about marriage and parenting and faith and self-care, just basically anything that will help women, but sometimes men too, just try to become better and help those around them.
Awesome. Okay. Topics that we definitely need. Okay. So I would love to then get into this next subject, which is what we're really going to dive deep on today. So my question for you is this: what are some of the most crucial things that we need to teach our children?
That is a hard question, I think, because it depends really on each child and their personality. But generally, we need to teach them priorities. In fact, I think more importantly, we need to teach ourselves priorities. And I talk a lot about that in my articles and other podcasts that I've done. And that is a whole other topic. So we won't get into what priorities should be or shouldn't be, but I think priorities is important. I think respect is really important to teach children. Respect for others and respect for themselves. I think loyalty is important. Obedience is very important. I'm just going to throw out a book. I wasn't planning to do this or anything, but I read a couple years ago a book called The Collapse of Parenting by Dr. Sachs, S-A-X. And I would encourage everybody, every parent to read that book. It's just wonderful. And it has a lot to do with obedience and really kind of changing the role of who's in charge, because our culture seems to get that reversed a lot. Another thing we need to teach our children is charity and service, that the world doesn't revolve around them. We need to teach them honesty. We need to teach them love, so important. And we need to teach them leadership.
Okay.
I was just going to say among many other things, but those were just some that came to the top of my head.
Yeah. Okay. Those are all so important. Since you mentioned that book, so The Collapse of Parenting really helps with which of these, like obedience specifically? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So the book talks mostly about how in the last 30 to 40 years, our culture in America has basically declined in teaching our children. Sorry, I was not prepared for this. Teaching them that that the world doesn't revolve around them, and that they need to figure out where, again, I talk about priorities. They need to prioritize their parents and their teachings over their peers. And so Dr. Sachs in this book, the tagline on the front cover is how we hurt our kids when we treat them like grown-ups. Okay. So a lot of parents, we do this unconsciously sometimes, but we treat our kids like friends, right? We want to be their friend. And we treat them like they should be a grown-up. And I find myself doing that a lot. But they're kids, and really, like, this might sound harsh, but they need to know their place. And that changes over time. We respect them. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. We need to still respect them, but we need to teach them that they need to respect us.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But there's just so much good stuff in this book. I've read it several times. I keep it on my bookshelf. I always have it near me. Yeah, it's so good.
Awesome. Okay. I'm very intrigued by that. I think that's all just really good and really a lot different than what we hear, and especially than what we see in our culture. So I can definitely see the need for that. Now, one of the things that you mentioned was leadership. And I think that is a crucial thing to teach our kids. And so let's talk a little bit about how we teach our kids leadership, and specifically some of the leadership skills that they need.
Yeah, sure. So we can teach our children leadership. We need to start as soon as they're born, really, when they're babies. And we teach by example. That's the biggest way, right? Our actions definitely speak louder than words. We need to teach them that they need to embrace failure. Failure is not bad. It's necessary. And so failure, it doesn't matter how many times, those failures are just, I think, stepping stones to success later on. And that could be a little success, it could be a big one, but failure is necessary.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is really good to teach in leadership is financial practices. Our kids need to know how to save and manage money, and the importance of, having that safety net.
Totally. Okay, let's go on both of these. So embracing failure, let's talk about that a little bit. So how have you done that specifically? Give us some examples of what that looks like in your family and, ways that you've kind of evolved and learned this and actually taught it to your children.
Well, I think I'm a great example because I am not a perfectionist. I know a lot of people, they call themselves perfectionists, or they see those tendencies in their own kids. But for me, I am not a perfectionist. And I never have been. And so when my kids make mistakes or something doesn't turn out the way they expected, I'm very just chill about it. My husband is the opposite. And so I think we're a good balance. And that I'm just you know what, it's fine. It didn't work out. Just let's try something else and don't dwell on it. I can't really think of a specific example right now, but just generally when things don't go my kid's way, I'm it's fine. We try again. We try a new way. I think coming up with ideas and being creative is a great way to kind of navigate those different avenues when you do have to embrace failure. And I think that's another great thing to teach our kids is to have downtime and to use their creativity and not let us get in the way of that or to even try to steer them in the right direction, but just let them find it for themselves.
Yes. Okay. That's huge. And I love the link that I hear you saying there, because sometimes I think we almost feel like, oh, well, their downtime or them being creative is about, artwork or something tangible. But this idea of their creativity is creative problem solving. It's creative. Yeah. Okay. This way of doing something didn't work. So I'm going to come up with this different way. That's powerful.
Yeah. So as I was thinking about this podcast, I actually I Google everything for research. And I Googled how or what we can teach our kids to help them become leaders. And I did come across the time to help them be creative. But the article that I read was instead of TV, give them crafts to do. And I just thought, crafts are wonderful, don't get me wrong. But I just thought, well, that's not really giving them their own creativity. That's you giving them something to do, right?
Yeah.
And so there's some neighbors I have that live on a cul-de-sac, and they call it the 80s cul-de-sac, which means that they, especially in the summer when it's warm, they just send their kids out and don't come back in for however long. And you guys have to figure out what to do. We're not going to tell you, go jump on the trampoline or go play night games or go do this or go do that. You figure it out yourself.
Yeah, I love that. That's how I like to parent also. And the kids are out in the neighborhood and it's so powerful. And when my kids have come up with some creative ideas, and it's so cool to see. I was just telling a friend about this the other day. They made in their room, this is super dangerous and that's how we roll around here because I have boys, but they made their own dartboard. They put up a fork that they found somewhere on their wall, and out of nails, and then they took playing cards to make the little
my gosh.
And these darts they could throw. It was a little scary because they were throwing nails, but I was so proud of their creativity. This isn't an activity that I would have said, oh, now for a craft, let's go make nails and throw them across the room. But so awesome, because how many skills did they learn? They realized all all the math and science and whatever else skills that go into the making of a dart to make it fly right and fly straight. Like, so cool. And then those, you hope those are translating, right? Like, okay, now they're problem solvers now. And they had to figure out how to get along with their brothers, and they have to figure out that no one can be standing in front of them when they're throwing a nail and all these important skills. So I love this idea of creativity and giving them the space to be.
Yeah. Let them problem solve.
Totally. Now, you also mentioned finances. Tell us a little how the finances work in your family with your kids.
So this is something that has evolved. I mean, I think you have to find what works for your family. But we do something, we call it the quarter order. And it's starting to evolve again as my older kids are getting older. It doesn't quite it doesn't quite have the same effect on them now. But what we do is we just give them like a whole bunch of quarters at the beginning of every month. And I don't even know how much, because honestly, my husband does it. He's in charge of it, but several quarters, less for the little ones, more for the older ones. And we connect it with behavior. And every time they do something naughty, we take a quarter away. Every time they go the extra mile, is what we say, they get a quarter. And so by doing their like normal chores, they don't get anything for that. That's just them contributing. They're part of the family. But when they go the extra mile, whether it's chores or being kind to a sibling or to a friend or whatever it is, if we see that, we give them a quarter. So they could earn as many as they want, or they get some taken away. And then at the end of the month, however much they have left, then they divide it. We help them, but they divide it into savings, spending, and then we give some away for charity. So as my older kids are growing up, we're trying to think of other ways, because they need more money, and they can even earn, their own money and have jobs and things like that. I think it's important also for kids to have jobs, teenagers. But whatever works for your family, I think it's important to teach them the importance of saving and giving. I think charity is so important as well. But also it's okay to have some to spend, because life is to be enjoyed, right?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I like that. I agree. I feel like kids need that opportunity with money, and it's practice, when they're little. So tie that in for us to leadership. So what does I like this system. What does it have to do with leadership?
Well, as they grow up, they are going to have to manage themselves. They may have to manage other people, whether it's in a job or family or whatever it may be. And we need to understand the importance of whether it's saving money or spending it, or giving money to charity, or giving service. All of those qualities make a good leader. And so if you want to have a child who can be successful, then you're going to need to teach them these little things that will all grow together and make them a successful leader.
Yeah, totally. I see that element of self-control that they have to practice when they have money. Yeah. And really, this also ties into something you were saying earlier about failure, because it allows them to fail on a small scale with a few quarters, rather than when they're on their own in college and, getting a credit card and spending too much money. So they can learn, money lessons and maybe fail some of the times.
Well, just this past summer, my daughter, she had a good chunk of spending money, and she decided that almost every day she was going to ride her bike to the snow cone shack down the road, and she spent all of her money. And I would warn her. It's not like I was like, yeah, go do it for sure. I warned her, I was like, you need to think about things you might actually want to buy later that are more important than a snow cone. And I did this several times, but I still let her choose. And by the end of the summer, she had no money, and she wanted new clothes for school, more than what we had gotten her. And I was like, sorry, can't help you. And she really was like, are you kidding me? You're not going to help me? I was like, no, I'm not going to help you. So we need to let them deal with the consequences as well.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's so important. I think that's a huge one is,
Yeah.
Going into that next idea of letting them deal with the consequences of what happens. That's awesome. Any other thoughts on that or other leadership skills that you would bring out?
Okay. Well, I do have an article about this, and it's called 7 Parenting Tips That Will Guide Your Children into Leaders. Excuse me. So, and these are not maybe the normal ones that you would think of, but more skills that will train your kids, but also train you as a parent, I think. So the first one is to not be too quick to rescue. So think about helicopter parenting, right? If we are hovering over our children and waiting for the first glimpse of them needing us, we're not doing them any favors, right? So helicopter parenting is short-term and it completely misses the mark in teaching leadership skills. The next one is to recognize their individual gifts, intelligence, and influence. And I love this one because I think that every child, if you're a parent, you know this, that every child is born so unique with their own gifts and with their own personalities that they just have, regardless of how you influence them. Does that make sense? They are their own person.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I see this. So my 11-year-old he's an animal lover and he's an artist and he has all these just different skills, a different skill set from what my husband and I have. And it's really interesting to see. And it can be easy to write off or feel like, especially the animal thing, because we don't want a dog. He really wants a dog. And to recognize that he has that passion for animals. And so what we're really trying to do is, okay, without getting a dog, because we're not going to do that, how can we enhance this for you? How can we give you these opportunities and searching for other ways? Because that's one of his gifts is to be a lover and a carer of animals. And so we need to find ways to help him do that, even when it's not, readily available.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I'm glad that you are doing that for him, because I think a lot of parents would look at that and just say, oh, no, we are not dog people. So just forget it forever. Don't bring it up anymore. But I think it's great that you are saying, our rule is we're not having a pet in our home, but let's find something that will help you. And that might be letting him have a dog walking business, where he just walks dogs around the neighborhood and they don't come into your house. But
yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He is doing it on a volunteer basis right now, walking our neighbor's dog. And I told him it's like an internship, but someday you can make money doing this. And then we have another friend who's a vet. And so we set up for him to volunteer at the vet hospital. So some really good opportunities around dogs and to enhance his own individual talents. So
yeah. So whatever your child loves, whatever his passions are, whatever his personality is like, I think it's important to help them recognize it and realize that you are rooting for them. You're on their team, and to help them grow in whatever capacity that you can.
Totally. Okay. I love that one. All right, go on. There's some other just gold in this article.
Oh, thank you. So the next one is to let them take risks. And again, this kind of goes back to helicopter parenting, but I think that we have somehow created a world that lives in fear. And we want to protect our kids, right? That's an important job of a parent. But sometimes we can go too far. And if we keep our children from experiencing risk-taking behavior, that can be unhealthy in the long run. Yeah. So let them take risks. It's okay.
Along
They'll
those
be okay.
lines, totally. I just read an article about research was done that when kids climb and they fall, that teaches them that spatial relation, and then they're better able the next time to not fall. But how often do we as moms like, oh, be careful, don't fall. We're scared of what's going to happen in the immediate, right then. And we don't want to see our child get hurt. But when we let them fall, it can actually help them to be stronger and better. So letting them take risks is a big deal.
Yeah. And it's hard. I get it.
Yeah.
As I read through these, I don't want anybody to think that I'm perfect at them or anything like that. It's hard, but research has shown that all of these things really are good for our children. So, another one is to stop excessive praise. Praise is great. Positive, interactions, all of that is great. But if you're telling your child that they are the smartest or the best at everything, or that you expect them to be, then research actually shows that it has dire consequences. It's not going to have the effect that you want them to have. Kids are going to eventually see that as they grow up, that they are not the smartest and they are not the best at whatever it is. And then they might begin to doubt your, the objectivity of you and your spouse and you as a parent. So it might feel good, but it's not reality. So
yeah.
So don't let your child believe that in that worst case scenario. But praise, it's good, just not excessive praise. Another one is to share your past mistakes. Ooh, this one is so important. As our children get older, they become more independent, and it's important that we let them, be the person that they need to be and that they want to be, as we've talked about before. And as they do that, it's so crucial that we as parents, we share our mistakes as they are relevant. Okay. We don't want to air every bad thing that we've done, but as they're relevant, share your mistakes in a way that will help them learn and make better choices. It's important for them to know that you are human, and that you have made progress over your own hurdles, right? Over your own mountains, so that it's possible for them to do that too. The next one is, don't let your parenting be clouded by guilt. Okay, this goes back to the first thing that we talked about what it means to be a good mom. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Everybody does. We all do it. And your child does not have to love you every second. If they don't get what they want, they will get over it. So don't be afraid to tell them no, and let them learn what really holds value and what they really need. If your relationship is based on rewarding your children for every good thing, then they won't experience true motivation or true unconditional love.
Yeah, I think this is so key, because when we are acting out of guilt, we're really not taking the long view. A lot of times we're very, we're in kind of the short, in the way that you're explaining it, it sounds like we're really concerned about how are they feeling in the moment, and how do they feel about me, and how is this all going to go down, and will they be mad or sad, when really good parenting involves your kids not being happy all the time, because it means they don't get everything they want. And we don't need to feel guilty when they don't get everything they want. If we're being rational and reasonable, and we have part of a greater plan, like we don't want them to get cavities, and so we're not going to let them have sugar for breakfast and not brush their teeth or whatever. We don't need to worry if they then don't like that, because that's part of the learning process.
Yeah. And again, this book that we talked about earlier, The Collapse of Parenting, talks a lot about that as well.
Awesome.
And then the last one that I have in this article is to practice what you preach. And honestly, this is one that is hard for me sometimes. I do a lot of research and I do a lot of writing. But when it comes down to it, I don't always live what I write or what I talk about. But our children are watching every little thing we do, even when we don't think they are. And they learn so much from us, even when we think they're not aware. And again, it's important to remember that we're not perfect as parents, and that's okay. And I think that's an important quality for our kids to see too, that we are not perfect. But we need to consistently try to be the person that we want them to become. Okay. It's important for our kids to see mistakes, but it's also important for them to see us overcome those and to practice what we preach.
Yeah. And really, that's a hopeful thought. We aren't going to be perfect, but as we're trying and they see who we're trying to be, they're going to pick up on that. And I think that's the greatest leadership skill of all right there, is to show our kids that we are making an effort, and that's what we want them to do. And we recognize all of our own imperfections and our kids' imperfections. And yet it's this idea of moving forward and trying. And to me, that's really the essence of true leadership right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell people where they can find you.
So if you just go to beckysquire.com, that's my website. And that's where you can find my weekly articles. I'm on Instagram at Becky Squire and Facebook at Becky Squire. Everything is just Becky Squire.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we will link to that. What one little thing do you hope that moms take away from this conversation that we've had today?
I hope that I hope that kids give themselves grace. And I hope that you as a parent give yourself grace as well. I get so many messages from people who are discouraged because they tried something and have failed. And we've talked so much about that. It's okay to fail. Give yourself grace, give your kids grace, and teach them to give themselves grace and to pick themselves up and to keep trying with whatever it is. If it's sports, if it's music, if it's simply making friends or getting through school or just getting through the day. We are our kids' greatest cheerleader, and we need to be their coach. We need to be their cheerleader. We need to be their parent. And then as they are adults, then we can be their friend. But again, give yourself grace and them, and understand that they are learning and that they're not grown-ups yet. They're still learning, as are we. And we're all in this together.
Yes. Okay. That is beautiful. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yes. And thank you everyone for listening to Moms Who Know. So much good stuff from Becky today. I love this conversation about leadership. And really, I feel like there's some different insights in here about how we can really put energy into teaching our children. And I love what she said at the beginning of the call about we teach them, but then we kind of step away from the outcome and they can take it or not take it. But we're going to do our best to teach them these things that we feel like are important. So my next question is for you. What one little thing are you going to think differently or do differently or take action on because of our conversation today? I would love to know if you want to share with me on Facebook or Instagram at Moms Who Know Podcast, or share with a friend while you're letting them know. Send them a link to this podcast. I love it when you guys share. It helps the podcast to grow and it helps more people to get this amazing information. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week on Moms Who Know.